Have you ever truly, deeply asked yourself why we search? I don't mean searching for a new job or a new partner or a new place to live, but this profound, aching, relentless human search for something more. We look at the world we have built, at the lives we are living, and a deep dissatisfaction sets in. We say to ourselves, what is all this? We see a life that so often feels transient, repetitive, and almost frightfully boring, a cycle of work, consumption, and distraction, a life marked by constant conflict, jealousy, anger, and this immense underlying sorrow that we try to paper over. And from that observation of a life that seems to have no intrinsic meaning, we make a logical leap. We conclude that therefore we must find something supreme, something more that will finally give it meaning. This has been the pattern of almost all organized religion, hasn't it? It's the engine that powers the whole machine. Now you and I, we may be sophisticated, we may spit on the religious organizations, we may see the hypocrisy in the churches, the temples and the mosques, but we often keep the feeling we hold on to the search itself, because giving that up feels like giving up hope. We've just replaced the old structures with new ones. We've swapped the priest for the self-help guru, the dogma for the wellness trend, the pews for the yoga mat. We are still seeking, still hoping an external system or belief will give us what we lack. And this feeling, this powerful urge to find something, is so easily exploited. It can be twisted to serve any ideology, to sustain any superstition, to justify any authority, whether it's political or spiritual. But let's put that aside. The root of it is this: we observe the chaos of our lives, the battleground of our own minds, and we long for peace. So the first thing one realizes is that there must be order. This is absolutely imperative, because otherwise life is just an endless battle, a constant, exhausting struggle against ourselves and others, and there is no peace in that, not ever. I'm not speaking of the superficial order of a housewife or a neat accountant, the order of a tidy desk or a perfectly managed schedule. I am speaking of an order of the very highest quality, a psychological order where there is no inner conflict, an order that comes from seeing the root of our own disorder, our own envy, our own fear, our own attachments. But then what happens, having established that kind of order, or at least having seen the absolute necessity of it, the mind, which is now a little clearer, a little more stable, asks, is that all? Is the goal of life simply to be well adjusted, to be orderly, to be free from conflict? It's an achievement, certainly, but is it the end? And it's at this precise moment that the trap is sprung. The mind knows or senses that to seek something more is to fall back into the old pattern. It understands that to seek something is merely to seek its own image, projected outwards. And as soon as I begin to seek, I have already created disorder. I was orderly, and the very act of wanting something supreme throws me back into the chaos of desire. Have I truly understood this? I mean, have you, not just verbally, not as an intellectual concept, but to have seen it with the same clarity that you see a physical danger. To see that the moment I, from my limited, conditioned, and fearful mind, begin to seek God or truth or enlightenment, I am only seeking a projection of myself. My mind created the idea of God because I was afraid, because I was lonely, because I wanted an ultimate father figure, a supreme judge, or an eternal comfort. The God I seek is made of my own thought. It is a customized, bespoke savior built from the fabric of my own cultural and personal conditioning. If I am in pain, I seek a God of comfort. If I feel chaotic, I seek a God of order. If I feel insignificant, I seek a God of immense power who, by believing in Him, makes me significant. It is all a movement of the self. To see this is to stop seeking, not as an act of will, not as a cynical determination, but as one drops a heavy, useless burden. You simply see its futility. So the mind stops. It doesn't seek then what. A mind that has done this, that has seen the futility of its own projections, has become extraordinarily sensitive. It has become educated in the true sense of the word. It is orderly. It has this quality of real attention. But even then, it asks, what now? And it recognizes that this state, as wonderful as it is still on a very low level. It may be aristocratic in its sensitivity rather than bourgeois in its crude seeking, but it is still a very small affair. So, this mind, which is no longer seeking, what does it do? It must be quiet. But what does that mean? To be quiet. I used to walk in Delhi, in a garden in New Delhi, and I would often see a man there. He was a poor man, clearly, probably a clerk in some vast, soulless government department, a life of complete horror and repetition. He used to come every day on his bicycle at the same hour, just as the sun was setting. He would lean the bicycle against a tree, sit cross-legged on the grass, and go completely, utterly quiet. His body would become absolutely still. I watched him every day because I used to walk there every day. He wouldn't miss a single one, Sunday, Saturday, it didn't matter. You could see that this quietness, this half hour of stillness, was the very essence of his life. It was to him bliss, a necessary escape. But, and this is the core of it, inwardly he remained a clerk. I am not being snobbish. It's not about his job. He remained that bundle of conditioning, that bundle of anxieties and habits. He remained Khrushchev or Kosygin or any other man of systems and reactions. He had cultivated a stillness, a quietness, but it was a state, a manufactured peace. He was using silence as a refuge from his life, not as a force that transformed his life. And so, I saw very clearly, no, that kind of quietness isn't good enough. It is part of it, of course. That discipline, that inward vitality, that integrity and wholeness, that sense of a meditative, religious quality of mind, it's all necessary. It is the foundation, but it is only the foundation. That quietness we spoke of, the kind the clerk in Delhi cultivated, is only the beginning. It is necessary, just as you must have food to have physical energy, you must have this inward order and seriousness to have psychological energy. But it is not the end. You have this, and then what a mind that is quiet becomes a very sensitive receiver. That's true. But how does that mind, which is now sensitive, which has this quality of finesse, which is alert and watchful, how does it receive something that is not of the mind? How does that supreme, unnameable something come? You can't come to this state of sensitivity without all the other. You can't just jump into it. But being there, as it were, with this quality of mind, how does that which is nameless come into being? Because let's be absolutely honest with ourselves. Without that, this whole endeavor has very little meaning. To just become a normal, healthy, sane, balanced human being is, of course, marvelous, especially when most of us are not sane, not healthy, not balanced. But that in itself isn't enough, is it? It is at this point that someone will ask, how can one who has never experienced this even know what you are talking about? I must tell you that is entirely the wrong question. Do you see the trap in it? The moment you use that word experience, you have already created a division. You have posited an experiencer, that's you and it. The thing to be experienced, and where there is a division between the observer and the observed, there is conflict, there is separation, which means you are right back to seeking. When you say you want an experience of God or truth, what you are really seeking is a new sensation, a spiritual high, a confirmation. And you can get that. Certainly, you can get it through chemicals, through drugs, marijuana, pot, and all the rest of it. Or you can sit and inwardly invoke that experience, repeating a word or an image until you are hypnotized by it. But all of that is so profoundly immature. It is a game of the self, decorating its own prison. We must wipe all of that out, sweep the house clean of this desire for spiritual entertainment. So, seeing this, the mind might realize, then I cannot do anything at all. And that is the first real glimpse of truth. The you, the entity that you think of as I, the observer, the sensor, the one who is always trying to achieve, to become, to fix. If that entity does anything, its action belongs to disorder. Its very effort creates noise. Its discipline is just another form of self-centered resistance. This must be seen not as a theory I am giving you, but as an absolute, observable fact in your own consciousness. You, as the observer, if you do anything, you are the source of disorder. That's clear, isn't it? One can only say it's clear because one has done it. One has walked that path and seen it is a dead end. What then? You understand the question. The mind, seeing it cannot do anything, might then conclude it must become completely empty, receptive, and open to the whole universe. It sounds beautiful, but what does it mean? You can have a perfect house, a beautiful structure, well proportioned, with lovely furniture, everything is spotless and comfortable. And then you stand in it and ask, what? The house is the mind you have cleaned. You have made it orderly. You have thrown out the old beliefs, the fears, the accumulated junk. And then what? The man who has done this still says there must be something more. So he starts running after it. But this mind, the mind we are talking about now, your mind, has seen that running after it is no good either. That's finished. I won't seek. And this isn't a determination, not a new vow of I will not seek, which is just another form of will. It is a simple, intelligent seeing of the futility of seeking. So, if the mind is not seeking and it is not doing, is it to wait for that supreme touch? Is it to meditate in order to keep the mind empty as a kind of practice? Be very, very careful here. This is the most subtle trap of all. The moment you wait, you are lost. Waiting implies expecting, hoping. And a mind that is expecting is not a quiet mind. It is a mind in a state of demand, of want. And because the mind is so cunning, so clever, if it waits, it will invent what it is waiting for. It will create a loophole, a subtle sensation, a feeling of peace, a vision, and it will whisper to itself, "Ah, I have discovered God. This is it." And you are back in the prison of your own projections. So, to wait is insufficient, and to do anything is insufficient. What else is there? Do you see? The moment you ask, what else is there? You are looking for an alternative, a choice, an alternative between what? Between waiting and doing. No, you don't wait. You see the danger of waiting, what is involved in it. You see the danger of doing. The mind, therefore, has no alternative. It has no path. It has nowhere to go and nothing to do. It has come to a full stop. Has the mind come to this point, a point where it is free of the past, free of the future, free of this constant need to become something? Do you have any idea what this means? What work is involved? Not work in order to receive that. Any action done in order to is a form of bargaining, a transaction with reality. I will be orderly. I will be silent so that you give me the soup. It is the merchant's mind, not a religious mind. This state demands a mind that understands love. And I'm not talking about the thing we call love, which is a collection of memories, a collection of images, sexual or otherwise. That love is bound to pleasure, jealousy, and antagonism. I'm speaking of a love that is clean, in which pleasure as we know it, as a product of thought and memory, doesn't touch it. Joy is part of it, but not pleasure. You must have all that. Without that love, you can't do a thing. So, having all that, the order, the sensitivity, the silence, and this love, how does that thing happen? Because if that doesn't happen, all our creativity is merely something we put in a museum. The cook baking bread is also creative. Everything becomes very small, tawdry, limited, and ultimately futile, meaningless, without the other. So how does the other happen? The mind is not waiting. It is not seeking. It is not expecting. It is not hoping. It is not doing anything to get it. It is simply, totally in a state it does not know. And then you see, sirs, then the other seeks such a mind out. You don't have to run after God. God runs after you.